All right, let's jump right into this explainer and unpack the truly legendary life of the Hindu saint and poet Tulsidas. We're going to explore a story that perfectly blends massive historical impact with some downright astonishing, miraculous events. I mean, this isn't just your standard dry biography. We are looking at a classic, fascinating hero's journey that spans from the early 16th century all the way up to 1623.
So to set the stage, I want us to kick things off by pondering what this famous maxim really means. Don't go there even if a mountain of gold is showered. Tulsidas penned this. And essentially, he's saying that if a place isn't welcoming, if the people there have absolutely no affection in their eyes for you, you shouldn't go there, even if they are literally showering you with a mountain of gold. It's just an incredibly powerful statement about valuing genuine love and spiritual connection way above pure material wealth. And as we dig into the man who actually wrote those words, you'll see exactly how he lived out that exact philosophy.
Section 1. The legacy of Tulsidas.
Now, you have to understand, Tulsidas isn't just some minor historical footnote. He is widely celebrated as one of the absolute greatest poets in world literature. He's a guy whose work is actively shaping Indian culture even today. And what's really fascinating is how his very name reflects his life's mission. If we break it down, Tulsi refers to an Indian variety of the basil plant, which is considered incredibly auspicious by Vaishnava Hindus. And dasa means slave, servant, or devotee. So his name literally translates to a servant of the divine, specifically devoted to the deity Rama. It grounds all of his mystical legacy right into this tangible, lifelong devotion.
And his historical footprint, it's just massive. Tulsidas basically took the epic Sanskrit Ramayana, which, was traditionally totally inaccessible to the everyday person, and he adapted it into the vernacular Awadhi language for the masses, creating the Ramcharitmanas. He also authored the insanely popular Hanuman Chalisa, and he even started the Ram Leela folk theater plays, taking these huge epic stories and bringing them to life on stage. His impact was so profound that people living at the same time as him actually believed he was the direct reincarnation of Valmiki, the original ancient author of the Ramayana, reborn just to bring this story to the people.
Section 2. An orphan named Rambala.
But before he was this legendary poet, he was a child born into some incredibly unique circumstances back in the year 1511. And the traditional accounts of his birth are, well, they're wild. He supposedly stayed in his mother's womb for 12 full months. And when he finally made his entrance, he already had a full set of 32 teeth and looked like a completely healthy 5-year-old boy. But here's the craziest part. Instead of crying like a normal newborn infant, the absolute first thing he did was utter the name Rama.
Because of that astonishing first word, his parents obviously didn't name him Tulsidas right away. They actually gave him the birth name Rambola, which literally translates to he who uttered Rama. And we know this for sure because Tulsidas himself actually confirms this birth name later on in his own writings. But guys, here is where the story takes a really tragic turn. Despite all those miraculous traits, Rambola was born under what Hindu astrology calls the Abuktamula constellation. And that specific configuration is believed to cause immediate, fatal danger to the father. So because of this highly inauspicious sign, on just his 4th night of life, his parents abandoned him. He was sent away with a house help named Chunya. She took care of him for about 5.5 years before she tragically passed away. So Rambala was left completely orphaned, wandering from door to door just begging for alms. It was an agonizing level of poverty, but it ultimately set the absolute bedrock for his spiritual quest. Section 3. The Spark of Renunciation. So our destitute orphan Rambola is eventually rescued and initiated by a guru named Narhar Das. That's the man who finally gave him the name Tulsidas. After that, Tulsidas travels to the sacred city of Varanasi, and he dives into 15 to 16 years of incredibly rigorous study. We are talking about completely mastering Sanskrit grammar, all 4 Vedas, and the 6 schools of Hindu philosophy. He was literally being molded into this brilliant top-tier scholar. Now we reach a really fascinating crossroads in his life. According to several traditional sources, Tulsidas gets married to a woman named Ratnavali, and his romantic devotion to her was absolute. There's this famous story that one day, Ratnavali went to visit her father's home. Well, Tulsidas missed her so desperately that he actually swam across the dark, incredibly dangerous waters of the Sarju River in the dead of night just to be by her side. You'd think that would be the ultimate romantic gesture, right?
Well, when he shows up soaking wet in the middle of the night, Ratnavali does not greet him with romance. Instead, she sharply rebukes him. She basically looks at him and says, "If you were even half as devoted to God as you are to my body of flesh and blood, you would have been redeemed by now." Wow. Those words struck him like lightning. They instantly shattered all of his worldly attachments. Right then and there, he walked away, renounced his life as a householder, and became an ascetic sadhu.
Section 4. Encounters with the Divine. So now Tulsidas is a wandering sadhu, traveling all across India. He's not just studying texts anymore, he is actively seeking direct, real-world encounters with the divine. And this quest builds into this bizarre, incredible chain of events in the woods outside Varanasi. The ancient accounts say Tulsidas had a daily habit of offering his leftover morning water to a specific tree. Well, this simple act of kindness ended up quenching the thirst of a preta, a ghost that's believed to be eternally thirsty. The ghost is super grateful, appears to him, and offers him a boon. Tulsidas, of course, asks to see the deity Rama. The ghost says, "Look, I can't grant that, but I can point you to someone who can, Hanuman." The ghost then drops a bombshell. Hanuman actually attends Tulsidas's daily religious discourses. He's just disguised as an old, sick leper sitting quietly at the very back of the crowd.
Sure enough, that evening, Tulsidas spots the leper. He waits for the discourse to end and then quietly follows the man out into the woods. Suddenly, Tulsidas throws himself at the leper's feet. He absolutely refuses to let go, just shouting, "I know who you are. You cannot escape me." At first, the leper tries to play dumb, but Tulsidas is relentless. Finally, the disguise melts away, and Hanuman reveals his true divine form to him.
So Hanuman blesses him and offers him a single boon. Unsurprisingly, Tulsidas asks for the absolute ultimate prize. He wants to see Rama, face to face. Hanuman tells him to travel to the sacred location of Chitrakoot, promising that if he goes there, his ultimate desire will finally be fulfilled. Tulsidas immediately packs up and moves to an ashram in Chitrakoot. But his first encounter, it's a completely heartbreaking missed connection. He sees these two beautiful princes in green robes riding past on horseback, but he's so mesmerized by the sight that he doesn't even realize it's Rama and his brother Lakshmana until Hanuman tells him later. Tulsidas is totally crushed, but Hanuman promises him one more chance. The very next morning, Tulsidas is sitting there making sandal paste, and a young child approaches him, asking for a mark on his forehead. With a quick hint from Hanuman, Tulsidas suddenly realizes he is looking directly into the eyes of Rama. He gets so overwhelmed with emotion that he completely freezes. The child actually has to take the paste and mark Tulsidas's forehead for him before disappearing. It's an incredibly powerful moment. Section 5. Timeless Wisdom and Legacy. Now, how do these deeply mystical personal experiences actually transform into a legacy that endures centuries later? Well, his spiritual journey continued with even more visions, including a darshan, which is a divine sight of the ancient sages Yajnavalkya and Bharadvaja under a banyan tree in Prayag. And what's crucial for us to understand here is that this specific vision directly inspired the narrative structure of his masterpiece, the Ramcharitmanas. If you read the epic, the story is actually framed as a dialogue narrated by the sage Yajnavalkya to Bharadvaja. So Tulsidas was quite literally writing his own divine visions straight into the fabric of Indian literature. Tulsidas ultimately passed away in the year 1623. And get this, he reached the incredibly advanced age of 111 years old. I mean, to live that long in the 17th century is just staggering. He spent that immensely long life doing one thing, translating the divine into something the everyday person could actually grasp, read, and sing. But his legacy isn't just in text, it's physical too. He went on to found the massive Sankat Mochan Hanuman temple down in Varanasi, and he didn't just pick a random spot to build it. He built it on the exact spot in the woods where he grabbed the feet of that leper and had his life-altering vision of Hanuman. That physical space still stands today as a living testament to that miraculous encounter. Which brings us right back to where we started today. Returning to his famous quote about the mountain of gold, we really have to ask ourselves a hard question. Are you chasing mountains of gold? Where in our own lives might we be blindly pursuing material wealth, fleshly desires, or worldly status, totally at the expense of our own higher purpose? Tulsidas literally gave up his wife, his home, and all societal norms, wandering as an orphaned beggar and ascetic, all just to catch a glimpse of the divine. It definitely leaves us wondering, what are we willing to give up to find our own true purpose? Think about that, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.